Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. I know that this time of year can be super chaotic and hectic. So we love when we get to see you guys on these calls and you make time for it. And for those of you that are listening after the fact, hopefully you can learn something. And just as always, let us know what you think in the group. If you have any questions or want to discuss anything, just share that under the random questions like on the app or under the Zoom group as well. And today, since we're coming off of a holiday in the US, our Independence Day, 4th of July, we thought this would be a good time to talk about what to do maybe when you fall off of your plan, or when life is crazy. Summertime, usually our schedules are all over the place. What are some things that we can do and focus on when we're traveling or out of our normal routine? Or how do we kind of bring back consistency and know what to focus on when things don't go as planned? Like maybe we have a plan for a vacation and it goes nothing like we planned. Maybe we plan to track our food every day and we don't track it all. And we, end up being in a pretty large calorie surplus. Like, what do we do when we come back home or after a holiday? Do we restrict and like get really aggressive with kind of that? Or do we move back to just normal consistency? Like, what's optimal? So we're going to kind of just talk that through and then also answer questions that we see that you guys have submitted as well. So to start, let's talk about what do we do when things don't go as planned, like maybe for a vacation or a holiday or an event, and it's after. I think a lot of times what I would recommend is going into when you're going to go into an event, whether that be like a family gathering, a holiday, or travel, going in, the best way to be successful is to have realistic expectations going into that event, right? So I know myself pretty well. I know like when I'm traveling, I love to eat the foods at the places I'm traveling. Like that's one of the things that gets me most excited about traveling is trying different restaurants. I'm a big foodie and I get very excited about trying, whatever like cool restaurants are in that area, different cuisines. Like if it's maybe in a different country, like I want to really experience the culture there, or even just like a different area of the US, right? So that's something I get really excited about. So to be in like a really strict calorie deficit and tracking my meals and hitting specific macros for each meal, like I would never do that to myself going on a vacation because I know that's not realistic for me and like it's not worth it no matter what my goals are, right? So right now I'm 4.5 weeks out from my first bodybuilding show. I'm not going to schedule a fun vacation for my family over this next month because I know I just won't eat the food intake that I need to be at the conditioning that I want to be for this competition and show, if I'm going to be traveling, because I love to eat food while traveling. Whereas the last 6 months, I have gone on a few vacations, even though I've been prepping kind of for this goal, I was far enough out that I could be pretty flexible when I was traveling. So some things that I have focused on and that's works for me are calorie intake, just a weekly average, like that's going to vary day to day, depending on what we're doing. I like to have more control over my breakfast. So when I'm traveling, I shoot to have a high protein breakfast with more volume, like fruits, vegetables. And then usually we'll eat our own lunch. And I like to get in a lot of protein there too. Like maybe we're at the beach or doing things and I'll pack lunch and I can kind of have more control there. And then we love to go out to eat. So I will just make sure I have, 800 calories or 1,000 calories or whatever I feel like I want when we go out to eat. And I'll just know like my protein intake, I like to hit about 150 grams of protein a day, like close to my body weight. When I'm traveling, I shoot for my minimum protein goal of like maybe 120 grams of protein. So that feels a lot more doable to me. I still feel satiated through when I'm, traveling and eating throughout the day. I feel really good with that protein intake, but I'm using that extra 30 grams from protein I would normally be eating when my schedule is how I want it and I'm not going out as much, to go towards usually fat intake, right? Because when we're eating out, we're going to be eating higher fats. So that's kind of how I adjust when I'm traveling. If I wasn't prepping for a show, for me, I probably wouldn't track when I'm on vacation. I would just have some non-negotiables that I followed, like get 10,000 steps a day, drink 100 ounces of water, shoot to get, protein with each of my meals and have fruits and veggies, and just be present and not track my food. So whatever you decide is going to be individual to you and your goals and what type of travel you're doing. Like, are you staying at a hotel? Are you staying at an Airbnb where you can cook more of your meals? Are you staying with family? So some different things will require different strategies for you. And I think most important is to think through ahead of time, like, what is the event going to be like? What's realistic to expect of myself in regards to my goals, but also just knowing myself and what I like and what's important to me and what I want to prioritize for this event. And then decide from there on a plan and strategy. Do you guys have any input on that? I have a 4-year-old about to ask me a question here.
I think too, you can go into the day. Like when I travel, I like sometimes to go to like a really cool breakfast place, right? So it has waffles, it has the French toast or whatever it is that you like to splurge on in the morning. So sometimes I think, okay, well, today I'm going to give myself my morning meal that has the higher caloric intake. And then the rest of the day, I'm going to be on my protein and on my veggies and on my water. So I'll eat a little bit less highly palatable foods throughout the evening than I would in the morning. So then like the next day I can stay pretty consistent, like Michaela said, through the day. And then at that night I can eat a higher, I have plenty of room left for caloric intake. So you can flip flop it too, because I think sometimes just this last week, even some of my clients would be like, I started off the day okay, but then I ate a bigger meal at like 11 and I decided to say, just screw it, and then keep eating the rest of the day. But you can still try to fit that caloric, stay in your caloric range the rest of the day with your protein and veggies as well.
Yeah. So that's something I like to think through, with each client, like, okay, you have travel coming up. What do you want that to look like for you? What's important to you with this travel? Is it like really important that you come off of, I like to think of it in 2 parts. Like, how do you want to feel while you're there at the event or on vacation? And then how do you want to feel after, right? Because sometimes in the moment you're like, I want to eat these 6 donuts and that is going to make me happy right now. And then the next day you feel like garbage and you're tired and like you realize, oh gosh, like that's not what I wanted to do in the long term. So how can you think about both? Like maybe that means 1 donut and then getting in some fruits and vegetables later in the day and a high protein meal. Because then you're going to be able to indulge and eat the food with everyone else that you're excited about, but you feel really good the next day. And like, you can still do your workout with lots of energy, and feel like you're moving towards the goals that you want to move towards. So that's going to be individual to you. Like, we can't tell you what do you want your vacation to look like and how do you want to feel after. And so thinking about that ahead of time, and then recognizing like when you get there in the moment, that might change, right? Like, for instance, when I'm going out to eat, if I'm tracking my food intake and it's important to me to hit my macros, I will look up the menu ahead of time if I can, and it's available, and look up what the options are on the menu. And I never just pick one food. Like, I never just say, okay, I'm going to have the hamburger with a side of veggies tonight. Because I know when I get to the restaurant, I'm going to be like, oh, the tacos sound really good. Or man, I kind of want that other item. So what I will do is I'll look up 3 options that fit my goals. And then when I'm at the restaurant, I can decide, spur of the moment, like what sounds best to me. And I know all 3 of these options are going to work pretty well with what I want to like accomplish, calorically for the day or protein wise or whatever. So same goes for vacation. Recognizing that you might have a plan ahead of time that feels really good to you, but when you get there and you're in that environment, maybe your plans will shift. Like maybe you'll think, oh, I'm really close to this stat loss goal. Like I want to push through and I want to hit my macros exactly when I'm traveling. We're going to have Airbnb. It's going to be easy to cook my meals, like no problems there. But then you get there and maybe the group you're traveling with like buys food, or you decide to go out to eat or whatever it is. And you have to make a decision. Do I want to stick with the plan that I had set that was really strict? Or do I want to shift gears and change the plan right now? And that's okay to do. Like, that doesn't mean you're a failure. You have the tools to decide in that moment what feels best to you. And then at the end of the trip, like, that's something you can own. Henrietta talks a lot about this, and I love it. That's something you can own. Like, that's a choice you made. And that's, so the results of that choice, like maybe you come back from your trip, the scale's up a little bit more than you would have liked, and it's going to take you a little bit longer to get to that fat loss goal, but own that. Like, that's okay. In the grand scheme of things, like, is that really going to matter? Right. So just moving back, and that's kind of where we'll talk about on the other side of that, like post vacation or post event. Maybe your plans don't go quite as you thought they would. We're human, like, life is dynamic. Our wants and needs change day to day. And so just owning whatever decisions you made and thinking through next steps. So if maybe you overindulged on vacation or at an event and that wasn't what you had planned, it's not something to stress about, right? Like, I love when I ran track and field in college. And so maybe we would be sick or something would come up, maybe like an injury or like I had a test and I had to miss practice or whatever it was. I would show up at practice, maybe Wednesday. I couldn't be there for whatever reason. I'd show up at practice Thursday. My coach would never have me make up my Wednesday workout, right? Like, that makes no sense. And we say the same thing for you guys on the app. Like, you don't need to make up a workout, just move forward and do what is programmed for that day. And same with your nutrition, like trying to make up for the surplus of calories you had at an event or last week is not going to be a healthy way to have sustainable long-term success. That leads to, binge restrict. Like, we don't want to do that. It's one thing to plan ahead for an event and say, all right, I'm going to adjust intake maybe down a little bit this week so I can have a really high calorie day on Friday and plan ahead for that and like make adjustments there. But it's another thing to have a really high calorie day on Friday unplanned and then try to like overcome that the next week and feel terrible. So just thinking that through, like, if you have something that doesn't go as planned, move on, like, enjoy, like, appreciate that moment that you had and enjoy it, and know that it's not going to affect your long-term progress. It might take a few days to kind of feel back to homeostasis again, but just go back to your consistent habits again. Just go back to the planned calorie intake and trust that as you're consistent, like, if the scale's up 5 pounds the next morning, you didn't put on 5 pounds of fat. Your muscles are full of glycogen, you're retaining more water. If you're coming off of travel, you're going to retain water just from flying, like being at the different altitudes, or maybe sitting in a car long-term. And so just know, like, give yourself a week or two, back to basics, back to consistency, and your body will be back to homeostasis again. And don't stress it long-term. Go ahead, Henrietta. Are you
Yeah, I just think also something that I think is important, if you have done something or eaten or gone off the plan on vacation and you beat yourself up about that, I would rather you ask yourself, why did I go off the plan? Like, why did I do something that wasn't planned? Most likely there's a reasonable explanation for that. Or if it's not a reasonable explanation, and this is something that happens time and time and time again, that is something worth looking into. We shouldn't just brush it off and move on if it's so-called problem. Or so either you find out that, okay, I have something that I would need to kind of investigate in and really take a deep look at myself, and so that I can make a change, so that I in the future do not use energy on being disappointed in myself time and time again. So like, how can you change that? And you can't change it if you don't look at what the problem is. If there is a problem, if you look at yourself and ask yourself, okay, why did I eat more than I wanted to? Or why did I choose that instead of that? And you find out that, oh, it wasn't necessarily a big deal, or I feel good. I still made it quite good. I'm not that bad. And then you can just let it go. So I feel like always take a deeper look at why you are disappointed or feel frustrated, or why you're stressing over something, so that you either can kind of resolve it,
Mhm.
or you can find out that, okay, this is just something in my head that I'm used to reacting in this way. So I just do it out of kind of habit. So I think that is definitely something I think always is important. Like take a deep look and ask yourself, why do I, feel like I feel, and why do I react like I do? And is there a change needed?
Yeah. There's many things that could happen, right? Like we've all experienced this. This is not like, oh, you're broken.
No.
And it's going to happen even if you do think through the reasons and like resolve to be better next time, it's still going to happen again. But every time is just an opportunity to learn more and grow. Like we're just going to get a little bit better and a little bit more in tune with ourselves. So for instance, for me, if I, something that can happen to me is like dinner time, right? It's the end of the day. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like my brain is kind of fried. And I'm making dinner. And so that usually I want something to snack on while I'm making dinner. Maybe it's taking longer. It's happening later in the day. Like kids are running around. I want something to help me kind of zen out a little bit. So sometimes I might go to like those highly palatable foods that are way harder to control portion sizes on. Maybe if like chips are out and salsa, like you better believe like I'm not tracking that and I'm just mindlessly eating that while I'm making dinner. Or and like, so maybe let's say that happens to me. I can beat myself up over it and be like, wow, I just went 500 calories over for the day and I didn't even notice while I was cooking dinner, and get mad and frustrated. Or I can ask myself, okay, what happened there? Like, how can I support myself so tomorrow that doesn't happen again? Because I don't want that. Like if I want chips and salsa, I want to really enjoy it and sit down and eat it. I don't want to just be mindlessly eating out of the bag when I have fat loss goals right now or whatever it is. Like, so how can I look at that? And maybe I can recognize, oh, okay, I'm normally stressed out in the evening when I'm cooking dinner and I'm tired. So I don't have as much like resiliency to stress, or I don't have as much willpower typically at that time of day. So maybe for my snack, I'm just going to make sure and put out one of my favorites is like something that's kind of palatable and salty and tangy in the same way that chips are, but I can eat it mindlessly. So for me, that's cucumbers chopped up with rice vinegar and salt, or a bunch of lime juice and salt on top. I can just like sit and eat those and enjoy them while I'm cooking. And I can have, 2 cups worth or 3 cups worth. And it's like negligible on the calorie intake, but I'm satisfied and I'm enjoying that. Or so maybe it's a simple swap like that, just being intentional there and giving myself something to eat that I enjoy, but that fits with my goals. Or maybe it's recognizing, oh, I'm feeling that way because I skipped breakfast today. So like now I'm way underfed and I'm tired and there's these highly palatable foods around. Like, how could I expect myself to not eat them right now when I'm haven't eaten enough earlier in the day? So I'm going to make sure I eat a high protein breakfast with lots of volume so I don't feel that way later in the day, every day, right? So some other ideas there.
What I see quite often with clients is that lunch is a very small meal, like a very low calorie meal. That is something that I see quite often. So that is also something, if you have eaten, as Michaela said as well, if you haven't eaten breakfast, or if you have eaten a small breakfast, a small lunch, and then I mean small with the, the amounts of calories, then you are most likely going to be really hungry when coming home from work, making dinner. So just by making sure that you are fulfilled earlier in the day is going to make a huge difference on you actually being able to make your dinner without the need of snacking. So that is one of the first things that I would look at if I have a client telling me that they, definitely have a need to snack while they make dinner. Okay, how does your earlier day look? And then we can just solve that. Or of course, if you want to snack because you feel like that's a nice thing and you have a cozy moment there in the kitchen,
Love an appetizer.
Michaela, do the cucumbers that are just like, yeah, you can eat that. So yeah, but definitely look at the whole picture there. How has your day earlier looked?
Yeah. And or stopping and asking yourself like, oh, wait, do I want to have a snack right now?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm actually not hungry. Maybe I just want some water, or I'm just trying to like satisfy that stress. So for me, I love to make a beverage of some sort, like sparkling water or whatever it is. Like I want something to soothe, right? Usually that time of day, I want something that feels soothing. So food is oftentimes something we'll go to first. So if you're feeling like a need to dive into the bag of chips, it's like, okay, wait a second, what's going on for me? What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling anxious about something? Like, do I need to go for a walk? Am I feeling sad? Do I need to, maybe talk about my feelings? Am I feeling like angry or frustrated? And just use that as an opportunity to like check in with yourself, be present in your body, and see what you actually need in that moment. I know Julie works a lot with her clients on relationship with food. And that's something that she goes over a lot with them, as far as like asking yourself those questions, tuning in, and then using that as an opportunity to learn more and move forward. So next time when that comes up again, like, oh yeah, I'm feeling anxious here. I think I just need to go get outside for some fresh air for 10 minutes. And then that will help me reset. So whatever it is that you need.
I think that like with exercise and with food in this situation, I mean, we use that term a lot. Like I was off track, now I'm getting back on track, right? And like part of that means just picking up the habits that you were doing before and just continuing them. Like you said with the exercise, like you don't need to make up a workout and double down. You just need to do the workout that's programmed for the day and move forward. And I just saw a post on Instagram that was talking about exercise, and like exercise is something that you get to do because you get to celebrate your health and your body and the things that are capable of it. Exercise is not something that you do because of punishment for something that you ate. And I think that food should also be looked at like that, especially when we come off of a holiday or whatever. You get to eat every day, all the time, to feed your body the energy that it needs to sustain your activity, no matter what. You don't only get to eat because you exercise that day, right? Like, so looking at food in the same sense that we do that with exercise, I think that that's just a poor way to look at it. Like, oh, I shouldn't have that because I haven't worked out for 2 days. Well, no, we need to feed our bodies. We need to get in food and we need to eat no matter what. Is it more the choice that you're making that's the problem? No matter what, your body needs protein, carbs, and fat every day. And if you don't get those in, you're probably going to feel pretty crappy. So I think that having that positive spin and looking at food the same way that we look at exercise, we look at exercise as a way to be healthy and get to move our bodies, and it should be the same with food. There shouldn't be a punishment behind it or guilt behind it because of something that we do.
Word.
Yeah. Any questions on that topic? I think just kind of in talking through like non-negotiables, we're going to be announcing a 6-week challenge today. For everyone that's on our app. So if you're a one-on-one client or you're subscribing to our workouts, we start the next phase of programming for our subscription people on the app on Monday. And so we wanted to use this as kind of an opportunity too, for the rest of summer. Like, what's some low-hanging fruit that we can all focus on to help us just feel as close to homeostasis as we can while summer can be so crazy. And most of us are out of our schedules. We work with a lot of moms, so kids are out of school and summer can be crazy and you're still trying to work and take care of yourself and do all those things. And so it can be easy to put yourself last on the list. And I think and it can also be hard to know like what to focus on and prioritize. And so the things that we'll announce today in this challenge are just kind of like the top 3 that we feel are really valuable and important to focus on. So your non-exercise activity, your movement. So 10,000 steps a day, like that's a challenge for most people. But if you are traveling or maybe not able to get in your workouts, or just it's chaos and a lot of your daily habits are kind of falling to the side, focusing on getting your steps in, like moving more throughout the day, can help so much with how you feel, like emotionally and mentally, if you're getting outside and walking, and then also physically, like how our bodies respond to that. Non-exercise activity adds up to your overall calorie output and can help you hit your goals. And it's not adding more stress. Usually it's helping you lower stress. So that's a big one. Shooting for that 10,000 steps a day and challenging yourself there. And then hitting your minimum protein goal. So like 100 grams protein daily is pretty close to a minimum goal for most people for sustaining muscle mass and feeling feeling good, feeling satisfied throughout the day with food intake, like not feeling as big of a need to go towards those highly palatable foods as much. Like if you're satisfied and full throughout the day, then you're gonna be more resilient to that and have just more willpower in that sense. So hitting that 100 grams protein is another one that we're focusing on. And then also 100 ounces of water per day. So we're outside a lot in the summer, it's hot. And then also if we're hydrated, we're going to be able to be like, we're going to have more realistic hunger cues. Those are going to be more accurate. So focusing on staying hydrated, drinking 100 ounces of water daily. Those three things are what we're going to be focusing on for the next 6 weeks of summer to help everyone just feel like, okay, 3 things. I can control those 3 things. If everything else goes to the wayside, like I still feel like I'm taking care of myself and moving forward with my goals. And if you can get in workouts, then that's a great bonus, right? So that's what we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be giving away prizes and all of that. And it's free for all of you that are already on the app. So just something we want to do to give back to our community. So if you guys have friends or family that you feel like could benefit, then they can sign up on the app for $1 for their first month of the challenge as well. And people can join anytime over the next 6 weeks. So we're really excited about that. And if you guys have any questions on that as we share today, let us know. But overall, like just keeping in mind that life changes, things get thrown at us. There's lots that's out of our control. And I think what we do have control over is how we respond and how we treat ourselves when things don't go as planned. So just keeping that in mind, like you're human, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have roadblocks that come up. Even like if you know, the more you learn, right? Like we're never going to be perfect at this. Like even as we work towards the goal of really taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally, spiritually, like it's something that's an ever evolving and it's never something we're going to be perfect at. So just in regards to your nutrition and fitness, remembering that and giving yourself grace and just using every opportunity as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and what you need and how you thrive and being willing to adjust when you need to. So if you guys have any questions on this to continue the conversation, share them in the app. Do you guys have anything else you want to say as far as coaches?
I don't think so.
I could say one thing quickly.
Yeah.
Something that I do with most of my clients, depending on, of course, where they are in their journey. But I also think like talking about vacation, if you haven't been eating intuitively for a long time, that would be, I think that's a great opportunity to actually try that out, because we never want clients to track forever. Like this is because you have a goal and you're optimizing your health and we want to get you to your goal as soon as possible. So we have you tracking, for most clients, not all clients, but most clients. So when you're going on vacation, maybe it's a long weekend, maybe it's a week, trying to be intuitive that week or that weekend and just see how that works for you, how you feel. Do you feel like you're in control? Do you feel stressed? I think that can be a really good way to learn something about yourself and just step outside your comfort zone a little bit as well and see where it takes you. So depending, of course, where you are at in your journey, if it makes sense to do that, I think definitely try it out.
Yeah, I love that. And then use that as an opportunity to learn. Like, did it feel stressful? Did you eat to like you were really stuffed? Like, did you kind of listen to your hunger cues? What happened and what can you take away from that and what can you learn for next time? So thanks for joining, everyone. We love doing these calls with you guys, and let us know what topic you'd like us to discuss next week. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week. and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.